Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Voice podcast. I'm Vernon R.E. Jones, managing broker, owner of Jones Homes, and we have serviced the 7-county Denver metro area for over 30 years. Is it the best time to buy right now? Well, that's a multi-layered question. Probably going to give you a multi-layered answer too. Basically, the turbulent story of America's housing market has yielded another surprise twist. After home prices, on average, climbed to an average of $450,000 in June, nationwide, of course, home prices are at long last taking the plunge. And I shouldn't use the word plunge because when you use words like plunge and crash and all that kind of stuff, people think we're going back to 2007, 2008. We're not. Basically, home prices are at long last taking not the plunge, but a retreat from their highs. And these are record-breaking highs, understand. From July to August, national prices dropped from $449,000 to $435,000, their most significant month-to-month retreat in data history dating back to 2016. Granted, home prices are up basically around 14.2% year over year nationally. But basically, weary home buyers may see a further break in the clouds. Home buyers have been looking at rising rates. They've been looking at rising prices. They're kind of like saying, man, then we go try to go rent and that's high. It's sort of like they're not getting a break. We're kind of dealing with the usual annual slowdown in September, October. Over the past couple years, it wasn't doing that. Now it seems like because of rising mortgage interest rates and that shrinking of the buyer pool, and it's just making people more cautious about buying. I do let buyers know there's more supply than they've had in years. Numbers are up, probably averaging over 30% more listings on the market than at the same time last year. However, I will say something to qualify this, and this is pre-pandemic. We were still 30% to 40% lower in inventory than we normally were or normally are. And we're still about 8% lower than the pre-pandemic number. So understand, we are still strongly under inventoried. Will more houses coming on the market make prices retreat? Of course. Basic law of supply and demand is real, and it operates in real estate too. I will, however, say the trends are there is a pullback of sellers putting their houses on the market. So that may slow down this rebalancing that we're probably trying to see from what especially a lot of economists believe. I personally believe everything is kind of left to be seen. I really want to see what the Federal Reserve Board is going to do with rates. Obviously, they just deal with short-term rates, but those short-term rates affect long-term rates and affect mortgage rates. And then I want to see what happens there, because if we can start getting a strong retreat in interest rates with the number of inventory, because again, sellers are starting to see my home being on the market a longer period of time. And I mean, I've been in this business so long, I remember as long as a home sold within 90 days, that was fine, because that was the standard, and we were dealing with largely a buyer's market at that time. But I've seen it in balanced markets where, 60 to 90 days is probably okay. But I see with over the last couple of years, I think there's been some spoiling that's been done on the seller side, because I've been putting their houses on the market, and others have been putting other people's houses on the market, and I got multiple offers and boom, that's it. We're going to get back to a sense of reality here. And I don't know if sellers are ready for it. Some will be, some won't. But long as you listen to, your professional who's been doing this, i.e. me, that you'll still be okay. But understand there will be a retreat in home prices. How much? That'll vary city to city, subdivision to subdivision. And as I always tell people, it's going to change value based on what your labor market is doing. Is your labor market doing good? Of course, nationally, we're still looking at needing to hire 11 million plus workers. I think Colorado's labor statistics are under the national average, and I think the national average is around 3.5, 3.6%. I think not Denver, but Denver Metro, Colorado is maybe at 3.3%. So our labor market is very, very solid. My thought is, in the next couple of months, it's going to say some interesting things based on what the Federal Reserve Board does and what inflation does. It looks like inflation is starting to trend down, coming off the high in June of 9.06%, I believe. It's trending down last month, 8.52%, I believe. So inflation goes down, groceries start to go down, gas prices are definitely going down. Once you start seeing those things go down, hopefully we'll start seeing interest rates retreat, and then we'll get more buyers to be back into the action again. At this point, I just sent out my e-newsletter, which talks about a lot of these varying things that I'm saying here. I will say again, housing inventory has still not completely returned to pre-pandemic levels. I mean, last month's active listings were still 7% below where they were in 2020, and let me reiterate this again. They were still 30 to 40% lower than normal in 2020. So I will say this. The good news is that the number of homes actively for sale in the 50 largest U.S. metros increased by 39.8% year over year. And some once impenetrable markets are now seeing listings rise by shocking numbers. Take the pandemic boomtown of Raleigh, North Carolina, a once sizzling market at the height of the real estate craze. In August, Raleigh, North Carolina's number of active listings shot up an astounding 176.6% compared with last year, making it the highest increase in the top 50 metros. Buyers can be a little bit more selective now, and homes that are priced without factoring in that may indeed linger on the market and ultimately take a price reduction. Again, it is important for you sellers now, price your home correctly. Pricing has always been a key in real estate, and obviously condition, they're married to each other in that sense. But when you look at price it, and let's put it this way, what I'm telling my clients, let's see what has sold in the last 60 days instead of the last 6 months. Because most appraisers value property based on 6 months. What has sold in the last 6 months? Obviously, they can still use properties that have sold 6 months ago. But understand, they are kind of locked into the trends too. They have to deal with trends that are happening currently. So I'm telling people, look at what has sold in the last 60 days rather than the last 6 months. That'll give you a better reality-based pricing strategy. Any questions about this or any of the podcasts that we have out there, or my newsletter if you receive it? Please give us a call. This is Vernon, 303-359-8218 for the Real Estate Voice. As always, thank you for listening, and please be safe.